Call to order, Monday, August 15th, 2022, Canton Local Board of Education meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. You stand, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Knight?
Here.
Mr. Koveski?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Okay, we'll have a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Mr. Agenda.
Well,
Yep, we have to adopt the agenda.
first we have to adopt our agenda.
Yep.
I'm sorry. We'll adopt a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All right, we'll call the roll, please.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mr. Koveski?
Aye.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes as written and waive the reading of the minutes. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Koveski?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to the hearing of the public. We have one right now. Is there any others? All right, hearing of the public participation but permitted only as indicated on the order of business in the bylaws of this board. Participants must register their intention to participate in the hearing of the public portion of the meeting prior to the meeting being called to order. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface their comments by the announcement of their name, address, and group affiliation if and when appropriate. Each participant will be limited 3 minutes for public comment. Public participation shall not exceed 30 minutes. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. All right, so we have one, and I just know that I will keep the time here, and when there's 30 seconds to go, I will raise my hand, and that'll give you time to organize your thoughts. Okay, first, Robin Miner.
Good evening, Board. I'm Robin Miner, 3304 Chagrin Avenue, Southwest Canton, Ohio. First of all, I'd like to say I appreciated Mrs. Hamilton appearing to the previous board meeting to support her husband. I felt her heart pertaining to Mr. Hamilton's legal issues and the possible negative comments she endured on social media. I did take issue when Mrs. Hamilton, at the end of her public speaks, took the opportunity to turn her speech into mudslinging against another board member. I emailed each board member asking who Mrs. Hamilton was referring to. Mr. Knight and Mr. Thorpe are the only board members who responded. Our superintendent was given permission to turn over the investigation report, names extracted, that Mrs. Hamilton obviously was referring to. I carefully read the document. The situation was resolved with finding of no wrongdoing. Why bring up an issue that was resolved over 4 years ago, in which our district's own personnel were satisfied with the findings? In my opinion, to draw attention away from the situation that sort of still hangs over this board, which is Mr. Hamilton's presence on the board and a demonstrated disrespectfulness and animosity towards another board member. Mr. Hamilton, I also listened to your speech you presented during a special board meeting. You seem unable to say that you are guilty of a crime. You insist you did nothing wrong. Mr. Hamilton, you were not found innocent. You were found guilty by Judge Elam on June 22nd. Mr. Hamilton, you can say you did nothing wrong, but the court says you are guilty. You could do a lot to help heal this issue if you could just bring yourself to accept the fact that the court found you guilty. Now the volleyball issue. It is my understanding, after talking to the superintendent and President Rick Knight, as he responded to my email, and so did Mr. Cole, a board member talked to either the student involved or possibly a parent of the student involved in that issue. That board member did not, to my understanding, reach out to the former coach for her opportunity to be heard. This board member took half a story, half a truth, and reported it back to the rest of the board. You voted with a half story, half truth, with the presenting board member showing no professionalism or regards for the whole truth. In over 20 years, this former volleyball coach is the first coach that Canton Local Board of Education has voted against renewing when the superintendent of our district made a motion to renew the coach. Is this community to believe that that vote was not a personal vendetta against another board member? Take a moment to think that through. Mr. Hamilton, you would do this district a favor by stepping down from the Board of Education,
Okay, that's.
giving yourself and family time to heal, and the staff and students to heal also. Thank you.
All right, now we'll move to number 7, approval of the invoices.
I so move.
Second. All right, any discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Kavesky?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye. All right, that brings us to the school report.
Yeah, tonight, obviously, we're not back in session just yet. That'll all kick off tomorrow. But we do have with us Ashley Marina, and she's going to talk about our nutrition and wellness program. She has provided all of you guys with the slides right in front of you, and then they'll be projected up there as well for the community members to see. So, Ashley, thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for this time to present to you. As Mr. Yeagley said, the school year hasn't started yet, but we definitely have been serving meals all summer long. And one of the things that I'm actually required to do every year is to provide the board an update of all the things that we do in school nutrition and to ensure that we follow all the guidelines as far as nutritionals and all that. So I thought I would start with sharing with you some comparisons from the 2021 and 2022 school year. We'll talk about summer and then a few updates for the school year. If we take a look at the 2021-22 school year, we served nearly 18,000 meals over, just shy of that, which is just something I want to say I'm so proud of. And most years I would be like, oh my gosh, we served more kiddos, how awesome is this? But really, in a year where we were short-staffed, really from almost day one, I think just 3 or 4 days into school, I had to call Mr. Yeagley at like 11 o'clock at night to say, what are we going to do? I'm quarantining an entire team of a kitchen. So I'm just really proud of the team, and I wanted to showcase that for you tonight. And hopefully we can still see numbers grow and serve more students. We also, I wanted to showcase, we will talk about this a little bit later, we were able to do this with GFS being able to fulfill about 55% of our orders. Each week we place orders with Gordon Food Service, who is our prime vendor, and they were anywhere from 55% to a 65% fill rate for most school districts. This year, I'm happy to report so far, it's about 95%, so we hope that it stays that way. Okay, summer meals. So this is something that we've done for quite some time. During the last two summers, we've been able to operate and serve under all the pandemic waivers. And we've talked about how families were able to come through and grab bulk meals, and we could serve multiple meals at one time. We were seeing food bank lines here at Canton Local Schools. This summer was a very different story, and I wanted to showcase this to you because, one, I'm hoping that our government really sees these numbers across the country and really kind of realizes the impact of the decision to take away all the waivers. So the last 2 years, students have been able to just drive through or their families and take meals home. This summer, we had to go back to requiring students to come here for breakfast and lunch. If you see the number for the 21 school year, we served a little over 36,000 meals in the months of June, July, and the beginning of August. This year was about 2,700. Now the 2,700 is really no different from where we were at pre-pandemic, but you can tell it's about 34,000 meals less, or missed opportunities is what I would say. So I look at this as an opportunity for growth and to really rethink what we can do differently. some of the big feedback that I got from the community was just, hey, Mrs. Marina, I can't afford to get to school. I work, I can't take my kids there for breakfast and lunch. So it was a challenge for a lot of our families. So unless if they came here for summer camp, we realized that our families couldn't always get here. So we're rethinking, and I would love input from the board and also from the community on just, what about food trucks? How do we meet the needs of our families and take it to where they're at? Now, there's still regulations to that, and there's a lot of things that we have to go through, but just realizing that there's an opportunity for growth. But we still had a successful summer meal program because we fed kids. All right, and most importantly, I think it's just leading up to this school year. I have a lot of bullet points here, so I will be very brief. Obviously, we have new buildings, so we are very excited for the opportunities that we have there. I will start with the first bullet point to just talk about, again, our free meal waivers have expired from the USDA. This means that all school districts go back to the operations that they were previously, unless if they've qualified for a different program. Canton Local will continue to qualify under the community eligibility provision that allows our elementary and middle schools to serve meals at no cost. And we will talk about breakfast here in just a moment at the high school. We are still expecting supply chain challenges, but hopefully not to the level that we have saw in the last 2 years. So I'm hopeful, but we're still definitely expecting those. We're going to continue with our home style cooking. We've talked about this with scratch made items and offering whole fruits and vegetables. It's something that we've been really proud of and that we've made happen. But to just give you an example, we are now back to having to meet the sodium targets that were on track before the pandemic. This year, we're going to see a 10% decrease in sodium, and then also for the next school year, which means that when we buy foods that are processed already, for example, taco meat that might come in frozen, it's hard to meet that when you're serving cheese and milk and all the things with sodium. So we can kind of rethink things and bring in ground beef, used with our new equipment that I'll talk about in a moment, for $2.99 a case through commodities versus a little over $40 a case for frozen ground beef, and serve that fresh to our kids. So we're really excited about that. Local partnerships, this is something that we've also have really been growing, and I will just continue to share that with you. Douglas has been a local company that we've been using for fresh dough for our pizzas. Marion Donuts, Canton Local was the first school district to partner with them at the end of the school year last year. They had to pivot as well for the pandemic. They're a local family business, and they were able to create products that meet school nutrition standards. So when we couldn't get donuts and the kids were freaking out in the line, I'm just being honest, like, where's our donuts at? We had to pivot too, right? So Marion Donuts is definitely going to be on the menu, and we're happy to support them as well for them for us. Peril Farms is out of East Canton that I have a meeting with, hopefully looking at some beef products that we can add to our menu, and Varian Orchards as well. So we're going to continue to grow that list. Yeah, we're excited about it. Smart Snacks, this is the piece where I just need to throw in here that I am required to share with you, but to just let you know, anything that we serve to students has to meet USDA Smart Snack guidelines. When you see a bag of Doritos or anything like that, they are not the same products that are being sold in the stores. They are really crafted just for school nutrition. They have reduction in sugar, sodium, and things like that. So I'm just here to let you know that I promise you we're following that. One thing I forgot to tell you is that we had our summer review. Typically every 5 years we're reviewed for all the programs that we're operating under. Shout out to Mrs. Hookway and her team who are here tonight to just say thanks to them. I guess the words that ODE said was, you have a golden standard program, your team's amazing. So I want to give them a shout out there. Okay, so universal free breakfast. This is something I'm extremely excited about, just really due to the diligence of our team and really understanding the importance to operate our program such as a business would, that we're going to be able to offer universal free breakfast to our high school students this coming school year as a pilot to see how that goes. So they will have to pay for lunches since we do not qualify under the CEP program. Lunches will be $3.75, but we are very excited to offer universal free breakfast this coming school year for the high schoolers. And again, just to clarify that elementary and middle school will receive all free breakfast and lunch. Finally, I would just like to add, we were able to invest out of the school food service fund about $150,000 into the middle school for equipment to make sure that we could get not really just the top of the line, but the equipment that we need to be able to make the scratch cooking happen, and to really align that menu with our high school. We know that students love. And we also did a little over 110,000 at the elementary school as well. One of the things when you add grade levels to a building, we have a lot more food to serve, which means we need more space. So we added in walk-in coolers and freezers. We're also going to have 2 double-stack combi ovens and a tilt skillet as well, which again is going to help us elevate that menu and the overall experience for our students. That's really what I have. We do have an administrative review. That's it. This is the year for audits, so more to come on that. But I thought I would open it up for questions and or any comments that you might have.
Anybody have any questions?
Actually, I have a question.
Yes.
And I know you probably don't know this off the top of your head, but just say we were fortunate enough to find a local company who would make a donation to cover lunches at the high school. Would you have an idea of what kind of dollar figure that would have to be?
Yeah, so I would, Jason, I'm sorry, I'm not that great at math. I use the calculator and all. So I could tell you though that we serve, when meals are free, right around 560 lunches. And that's without a la cartes, and if you multiply that by the 375, there you go. It times the 9. Jason, you got
All right,
that?
so 550 times 370.
375, right around there.
Times 100.
Times 180 school days.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And just, I do just want to jump in about what a great job our staff does for our, I mean, really, really pleased. And we talked about it today, but they dealt with shortages and supply. And I mean, Chris, I know your wife deals with, I mean, our cafeteria staff all over the place. And we are very, very lucky with the job, Ashley and everyone on our team. So just thank you.
Yes, thank you a lot. We appreciate it. All right, we'll move to treasurer's report.
Pretty short one tonight. One item on the agenda, that's the monthly financial reports for July. So if you turn to exhibit TA1. Also, I put a copy of the revised page 3. Everything at the top was correct, but the bottom numbers, the federal and other, had to make a modification there. So you make sure you reference that when we're looking at that revised page. Page 1 is the cash reconciliation. Our total deposit accounts were $3,394,803.57 at the end of August, or at the end of July. Investment accounts totaled $15,626,766.74. And the total reconciled balance after our outstanding checks, and we do have one NSF check left to collect, $18,747,987.72. Page 2 is a list of all of our operating investments. At the top are the commercial paper, which we're going to talk a little bit about commercial paper later. We're starting to phase those out a little bit, but the last couple of years with very little interest available, commercial paper was a good investment to have. You could buy it at a discount. If you held it to maturity, you made some pretty good interest on it. So those top few investments are commercial papers, and then we have treasury notes, federal farm credit banks, FMNAs. Those are all agency securities. Total operating investment value was $10,346,368.01, which matches the U.S. Bank operating. And then for the construction side, we just had the money market account. All of our investments had matured at the end of July, but we didn't have a chance to move it to STAR by July 31st. It was moved, I think it was effective August 2nd. So next month you'll see that all in STAR, Ohio, so that way it's available for those final payment applications on all of our projects. And then page 3 is a comparison for just the 1 month, July, and the fiscal year this year compared to last year, and then compared to our estimates. And our estimates at this point are truly just estimates. We haven't done the 5-year forecast yet, so those are kind of based off what our budget figures were in January. So not a whole lot of stock in that estimate column at this point, but we'll update that once we get the 5-year forecast done and get the appropriations approved and everything. Just a couple things to point out. This year through July compared to last year, on the revenue side, we're $254,000 lower than what we were last year. but 200,000 of that could be attributed directly to the city, with the city of Canton income tax payment. We normally get that in July. So for our abated properties, if that company that has a tax abatement has a payroll over $1 million, the city of Canton is required to share income tax revenue with us. That amounted to $204,000 this year. We received it before the end of the fiscal year, so it doesn't count for this fiscal year. If you remember back to last month's report, we were about 200,000 over in other revenue, and that's because it was received in June, not July. So this month we're going to be lower. Actually, for the fiscal year, unless that comes next June, we're going to be 200,000 lower. It just depends on the timing of those. We get so close to the end of the year, it could be between fiscal years. On the expenditure side, only thing I wanted to point out there, we're pretty close to where we were last year, except for in other expenditures. Last year, we had spent $137,000 in other expenditures. This year, we're only $23,000. We had the settlement with Knott Corporation July of last year, which was about $100,000, that $100,000 payment to settle up the remaining amount we owed them on the parking lot for the high school, the parking lot issues that we had. And at the bottom there, our fund balances, general fund ended July $13,074,663. The lunchroom fund, which Ashley just talked about, even after the figures she showed on there, where she contributed $260,000 into the two buildings to help cover equipment costs, she still ended last fiscal year with $746,000. So definitely a healthy lunchroom balance. It's going to help us. That's one way that we're able to offer the universal breakfast for this year, and then reassess next year and see how that program's going and see if we can afford to do it moving forward. So kudos to Ashley and her team for that. The total balance there at the bottom then is $18,747,988 for all the other funds when you combine them together, which matches page 1 of the reconciliation. I recommend the July financial reports for approval. Unless there are questions.
So moved.
I'll second. Any questions? Not, call roll.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Kudesky?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye. Okay, thank you, Mr. Shapps. Okay, that brings us to communications.
Yeah.
Sir?
No, so obviously, guys, students of the month, our student representative of the board, athletic council, we're just getting started here, so we're gonna have Mr. Dennison talk to you at the next month's board meeting here, early September, get you started. Facilities, instead of doing a report, we had Mr. Knoll here in case anybody had any questions. We've been sending out those updates with everything, but we are ready to open school tomorrow. We are ready to get that going, but I didn't know if anybody here on the board had any questions for Mr. Knoll or anything, so we wanted to make sure he was here, but not do a report when we know there's a lot of other exciting stuff, so.
Looks like we have Mr. Knoll times 2 sitting over there.
That's correct. Only one of them can answer questions on facilities, though. So, there you go, so.
Any questions? No?
Okay. So then, moving down, curriculum programming, I know we had our curriculum committee meeting prior to there. We are going to, just so you guys are aware, as state report cards come out, we're gonna call for a special board work session prior to either the October or November meeting. We'll let you know, but we will put out a public board work session, and we're gonna bring in our building principals, and we're gonna have our building principals come here and stand before you and really go through their data in a special work session prior to our regular meeting. So, but we'll get that communication out to you, just keep you in the loop on what's coming with all of that. And then Jason, I don't know if you want to talk to finance and audit.
Yeah, for finance and audit, we started our audit for the 2021 or 21-22 school year, just as 22-23 is being kicked off. This is the annual audit that's required since we spend over $750,000 in federal grant money. We're required to have an audit every single year. So that time of year again, each of you, I'm sure, received an email with that information. Mrs. Davis did attend. It was about a maybe 45-minute meeting with the auditors where they went over the audit process, what's expected of us, and what we expect of them in the process. Again, routine audit required every single year. The one thing that they did point out, a lot of school districts are finding that they have to audit multiple federal programs, and that takes a lot of audit time, so costs are starting to increase. Ours right now, it looks like we're going to be pretty fortunate. We are a low-risk auditee because of the results of our prior audits. We haven't had any issues, so they only have to test 25% of our federal programs, and if they test the ESSER allocation, we can get away with one federal program. So it's going to save us probably several $1,000s, unless something comes up when they're looking at the federal expenditures and there could be another program that could be a type A program that's required to be tested. They didn't think so. I'll keep you guys apprised of that. But right now the audit cost is $23,900, I believe, right exactly where we were at last year on our costs. So if you have any questions at any time, they emailed you. You can contact them directly, or if you'd rather me reach out with your questions, you can reach out to me and I can get a hold of them. If you need to see them individually, they're sitting out in front of my office pretty much every day. They're not there this week, but they come and go over the next several months. So.
Hey, Jason, could you send us a breakdown of where we sit with ESSER monies, our spending and what we have left?
Yep, I can give you a brief update right now.
Okay.
We've gotten 3 rounds of ESSER. Rounds 1 and 2, we've spent all of those funds. So we're down to the ARP ESSER allocation, which was $4.5 million. Roughly, we've spent a little over $1 million of that already. So that leaves us right around between, I believe, $3 and $3.5 million left. And again, we can spend that through September of 2024.
Good.
And I believe it was at the April meeting, we updated the ESSER plan. We're going to have to do that again as we move into the school year. Once we get our grant applications approved by ODE, we'll update the board on what that ARP ESSER allocation, what we're spending it on for this school year and next looks like.
Do we expect any more ESSER?
I don't believe that there's going to be any more rounds of ESSER funding the way it looks now, and a lot of the federal waivers and things are starting to expire. So I think we've received our final allocation of ESSER dollars. Now there could be reallocations if they get close to September of 2024, and some of those districts that have gotten boatloads of cash haven't spent it. I don't know why they wouldn't spend it, because there's no supplement, not supplant requirement, so you can use those funds to supplant everything. You could pay for all your general fund expenditures if you wanted to with those funds. But if there are districts that don't spend it, they could reallocate it and we could get maybe some reallocated funds. But I think that'd be the only way that we'd see anything additional at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, superintendent's update.
Superintendent's report. So, the big part of my superintendent's report that I'm going to do, and I'll just start this in a few moments, is to go over the strategic plan. And I've emailed it out to all of you, and again, just like Ashley, you guys have a copy. We also put this up here. A little bit later tonight, I'm going to ask you guys to approve this strategic plan, and once it's approved by you, we're going to start communicating it out to the public. So I'll get to that in just a moment, but I just want to start out by saying how awesome it has been over the last couple of weeks as we've been getting kids into these buildings. You know, it started on July 30th, and I know some of you, Mr. Cole had to work, and Mrs. Davis, I know you had a family situation. But to be in there that day and to see people coming into that new middle school was awesome. It was a great day. And it's continued over into Ready Fest. We just had our last Ready Fest tonight, and I gotta say, just walking into the new, I almost call it the new Faircrest, because it looks so different, and it's been a great experience. And to see kids, it's really been great. Want to thank each and every one of you. Jason and I were talking, to have all 5 of you there today at Convocation, I know it meant a lot to us. I got a lot of really positive comments from staff members, how much they appreciated everybody being there. So just want to say thank you to everybody for that. It was a great day, and I want to say thank you to our staff. Last year was a tough year. We talked about it today, but to see everybody coming back, committed to being better and being there for our kids, we're really excited and looking forward to tomorrow to welcome our kids in here. Just a few other things. Meet the team night for fall sports, guys. That is August 26th. It's a Friday night. Our first home football game is the next night, but we are going to have all of our teams here. We're going to have youth teams here. Youth soccer is going to play out on the field. Youth football is going to play out on the field. There's going to be food trucks, so it should be a very, very exciting night. Would love to have you guys here if you could be here. I think it all kicks off at 5 or 5:30. I'll shoot that out in an email. and then it's gonna go all night long. 5 o'clock, I think, is right there where we get started. So as we move on now to the strategic plan, one of the things I really want to throw out there to everybody is, please know, this is a 3-year plan. So all the things you see in here are not going to be done by January. And one of the things that when we met with the impact group and when we met as administrators over the summer, we had to caution ourselves and say, okay, this is where we're going. We heard what the community gave back to us. We heard what our staff gave back to us. You know, I thought we had a great meeting where we met with you guys as a board, our township trustees, what they gave back to us. But now, how do we get there over the course of the next 3 years? And what this really is a roadmap. So I just want to be very clear with you, and I also want to be very clear with our community, that these are not things that are going to magically snap our fingers and happen overnight, but they're what we're working towards. And our goal is that when we end this plan, these are the things that we're doing, okay? So I just want to throw that out. If you just go through, we'll skip through the table of contents there, and Nick's going to be scrolling for me out there. But I'd really like to start with our vision and our mission, which is on page 3. And we really talked about this today. But our vision and what we wanted that's on these shirts is that every student that graduates from Canton South, from Canton local schools, is career ready. And that we celebrate all careers equally. There is as much value in being a welder as there is in being a lawyer, but that we do everything possible to get every kid prepared. And so we're really focused, and we put on the back, helping every kid. How do they find their E? To be enrolled, to be employed, or to be enlisted. And we know this, it may be a combination of the two. It may be something where someone starts out employed and ends up going on to school, but that we prepare them with the skills necessary to be successful. So everything we are doing is starting with that as the end in mind, and how are we working backwards from that? And what you're going to hear us say a lot is, at Faircrest Elementary School, how do we make kids career aware? And as we get to the middle school, how do we allow kids to explore what opportunities are available? And when they get to the high school, how do we help them own their plan? And so we've already started to do things, put classes in place, working with different programs. Jeremy's going to be teaching the CBI for us over here at the high school. Adding the extra school counselor here to work with kids. Lots of different things. But this is where we're going. And this is what we're hoping for every single kid. So that's kind of just there with that. As we move on to page 4, we can kind of skip, unless you guys really want me to read off who everybody is, but that's just out there for everybody. But it brings us now through to goals. And these goals were put in place based off of the feedback that we received. And what we heard from the community, what we heard from our staff. And it's that we need to be better at communication and how we can do that. And when you see internal and external, it's exactly what it means. How are we better communicating with our staff so that everybody's on the same page and knows what's going on? But also, how are we doing a better job of communicating with our community? We were shocked. One of the things that our community told us, they want more emails. Tonight, we just sent an email out letting them know what our safety plan is going to be. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue from the building level and the district level. As you look through internal objectives here, and I know I've sent this out to you guys, our goal is just this. We want to create a system, and I'm not going to read every single thing because I know you guys have had this, and I'll answer any question you have. But basically, how do we create a system that our staff members know they're going to be communicated with? How do they know the upcoming events? How do they know to expect this is when meetings will be, this is what will come in email, just so that it's consistent, everybody knows where to look for things. As we talk about creating things for the outside, how are we making sure that our parents, again, know where to find that information? One of the things I'm really excited about is with our new website, there's an app. And that app we can send out to our parents, and we're not there yet, but it's coming sometime soon this school year, and they're going to be able to get push notifications. So if something's going on in school, we can send a message just directly right out to their phones. I mean, we all know most people have these on them all the time, and we can just send it right there. They can choose to click and look at it and have more detailed information. So those are the types of things that we're working on to get better at. As you look at goal 2, academic achievement and professional development, I mean, I think we all know this. We've got to do a better job of getting our kids prepared and closing those achievement gaps. Guys, when we present our data, and you're going to see there's some areas we're doing a great job in, there's other areas we've got to grow, and we've got to improve, and we're going to put our focus on that. So what professional development are we providing to our staff? Mrs. Davis, you and I have had the conversation. that extends into our classified staff as well. Because for them, how are we making sure they know all the safety plans? How are we making sure they know the PBIS plans and all of the things that need to come into play? But for our staff, how are we getting everything aligned with the science of learning, with our new reading plans, everything that's going to be happening there? It's a challenge we put out to our buildings this year. How are we making map testing more important? Because that's how we're benchmarking kids. We've already provided data days, and we've brought in Dr. Tom Fry, who's helping all of us look at data better and more effectively. So these are some of the things we're doing, but again, these are the big pictures of what we're looking at. Providing quality professional development so that it can impact our student achievement. If you look at goal 3, that culture of climate and wellness, I gotta be honest, at our last board meeting, I walked out of here and I told you guys how excited I was that we were fully staffed with our mental health needs, that our partnership with Conquest, we had one in each building, and we had brought in Dr. Tim King to supplement when we were short. Since that time, we have lost 2 of those counselors. Starkmar has had meetings with all the district superintendents, basically to let us know that across the county they are currently down 25 counselors from what they are supposed to be able to fill. We are still working with Starkmar. We are pushing forth our data to make sure they see that we are a district that is high need in this area, but we're not stopping there. Krista Gerhard, who really helps us, she and I are working out to build partnerships beyond what we already have, trying to get more and more people into the building to meet our kids' needs. And that's just one part of this. But we want to continue to use our district equity and inclusion and belonging team to make sure all kids feel that they belong. We're looking to find ways, how are we advancing school spirit? I think that's important that kids are proud to be a Wildcat and that they want to be out there and support each other. We're working for ways that we can create a culture that builds staff around. So all of these things, again, over the next 3 years are what we're looking to improve upon and do. Goal 4 is more community involvement and transparency. And again, part of that's communication, part of that's reaching out and having conversations. I'm really proud of the fact that we've started a meeting with the ministers. Every other month during the school year, we bring in the local minister. Had conversations with Trustee Schaefer and the township about kind of going together, bringing in community groups, working together. Part of Karen being full-time with us is allowing her to reach out to groups and organizations and get them brought into the school, but also partner up with the township to make it more meaningful so that they're not just hearing school events, they're hearing what's going on in the community, maybe and kind of encourage more participation. And then again, just what we're doing now, if we increase communication, we increase transparency with our constituents, and that's what we want to do. That goal 5 of human resources, I think, guys, I don't know if I shared this data with you, but at my one superintendent's training that I went to, they told us in 2007, 10% of all students entering college majored in education. By 2017, that number was down to 4% of all students. I don't think the last couple of years have done anything to encourage more people into education. We are going to have to be very strategic about thinking about our staffing, our human resources, and making sure that we're doing everything we can to fill every job with the best quality candidates that we can have. And those are the things we're looking at there. And then finally, safety, facilities, and financing. Let's be honest. Last year, and we talked about this, student behaviors were a major disruptor of student achievement. And we have got to find ways to meet those students' needs while also allowing every other student in our building to thrive. And we've already started to put things in place. We're going to evaluate those. Tonight, as you know, I'm going to ask you to hire that safety team. And I've had, I know we've had some conversations individually, but I feel like these are all things we're moving towards. But these are our goals and these are our objectives that we're going to work on over the next 3 years to try to be better. And so, just wanted to make sure you guys had a chance to see it in person here. Do you have any questions for me? Yeah, Chris.
Have you guys looked at the cost of hiring our own mental health counselors for just our district versus contracting out with Starkmar?
So we have had those conversations, and to tell you that we have an exact breakdown of the cost, that is something we have absolutely looked at. What we get into is a lot of times they bill and bill back, and there's a licensure that goes with it to be able to do it. If we were just to do it, I mean, just if we were to put them on a teacher schedule counselor, at a beginning year, we're looking at about $40,000 a piece, 41,000 if we were on a teacher contract. Then you throw in benefits and everything, so we'd probably be about $180,000 to $200,000 by the time we got started with that program. If we had one at all three buildings.
If we have one.
Yeah, if we had one at all, I would estimate to start, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, a beginning teacher salary starting this out with benefits would be slightly in the 60,000 range,
Yep, just a little over.
just a little, so we'd be looking at. I would tell you this, it is my number one priority, and I think I've had that conversation, not with all of you, but individually as we've talked. We have a meeting with Hope Behavioral Services. They're supposed to be getting back to us this week. It's an organization outside of Starkmar that I used when I was principal of Minerva High School. Krista has reached out to a group called Red Oak that is based out of Summit County. We're trying some of that first, out of the fact that I think economically it will be better for us in the long run. But we've got to do something to stop this turnover. And I go back to my previous district, and I don't mean to talk that, but we experienced some of these shortages there. If it's going to be something that continues, this is my number one priority right now in the district. Because kind of like we've talked, if we don't get the student mental health needs, if we don't get the behavioral needs, those other goals of academics, they're not going to come at the rate we need them to come. We need to get that focus first. So I would tell you this, Chris, and it's a great question, nothing's off the table right now. I appreciate that question.
Jason, what was our carryover last year?
12 million, over 12 million.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely think, like you've said, that is the most important thing. Without getting that handled, none of this other plan really matters.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that's what we're looking to do, and like I said, is if we can do it in a way that's going to be better, we are. But if not, there is absolutely nothing off the table right now. And it's a great point.
All right. Superintendent's report.
All right, so guys, as we go down through, we're going to start here first with our resignations and retirements. I'll just kind of take you down through there. A lot of them have received extra jobs other places. Anthony DePinto had a teaching job at Plain Local to do a career tech program there. Sandra Schleppe just stepping down. Amanda Piles got a job at Fairless Elementary School as a full-time teacher. We didn't want to hold her up from that. And then Ashley Cordy is stepping down from there. And I recommend that we accept their resignations, thank them for everything that they've done for us. In employment, there's a lot. And so if I read all of them here, we may go forever. If you see there, classified substitutes are athletic coaches, fall workers there under 2. A lot of the other ones that you're going to look here, we're making adjustments. People are going from a 4.5 hour, so we have 3.5 hour to a 5.5 hour, and making some adjustments through. But I do want to make sure that you see we have a new custodian coming on in Brian Fay. We have our school security officers that we're going to be bringing on here. John Von Spiegel here at the high school, Joe Pileggi at the middle school, John Klaus, we did not put him on here because it's just transferring to a different building at the elementary, and then Greg Whitney. Everybody else, guys, if you look at that there, if you see the school psychologist for Margaret and Sydney, that's 6%. That is something that is in the contract that they receive, that all of our school sites receive. And just to be really honest with you, our behavioral coach is entitled to that as well. She's not on this agenda. You're going to see her pop up on the next one there with everything. But I just wanted you to know that stuff that's in there. You see some senior class advisors. But unless you have any questions, I'm not going to read through every single one of those lists. But if you have any questions about anything, please just let me know. But it is my recommendation that we would hire all of those people, starting at the top, going down to the bottom. As we move next, on to the next page, federal grants and programs. This is something that comes in every year at this time. And all of these programs are administered by different coordinators. We have Tricia Coates-Everett's heavily involved, Victoria Hesse's heavily involved, Dr. Dale Rush is involved with these, with his work over at Multi-County. And then we also have, who am I leaving out? I just said Tricia, Victoria, Dr. Dale. Did I leave anyone out, Jason?
Krista, you said-
Yeah, oh yeah, Krista Gearhart, I'm so sorry, with Career Tech and the Perkins Fund. They work together with me, they work together with Jason to make sure these are all allocated out. Like when you see that Title I-A basic funding programming, that's what's going to pay for those Title I tutors that we have, all the way through. And I can take you through anything there and we can get you more detailed reports, but that's what we are receiving this year, asking that we approve that. As we move down to State Grant Program D, that is our preschool allocation that we received. The good news with preschool right now, the good news is that we have filled every single one of our slots. And there's a waiting list right now to get into preschool for kids that are in age 3 right this second. And we think those will fill as we go through the year here, be able to go in, but we're really, really excited about that. So that is what that is fully funded. I will say this right now, we just got a phone call today because we moved the buildings. We're waiting on the state. The preschool programs are not fully our programs. We do the programs through the Stark County ESC. They come in. The ESC, we're waiting on them to come give us the final approval. We've got emails out tonight. We're fully anticipating them coming in and hopefully being here tomorrow. We're looking forward to that here. We've got some emails and some phone calls. If something changes on that, I'll let you know. But we submitted that paperwork to them just because I got a call today that they hadn't came in here yet. July 24th for them to come in. Every year we've been told that, oh yeah, if you have it by that time, there's no issue. Well, we're going to check through. If that happens, the worst case is we're going to make a phone call to push things back a couple of days with our preschool only. But right now we're optimistic that that's not going to be the case. So if that happens, you guys will all receive a message from me and let you know. But just keep you in the loop, but that's that state grant program there. And obviously ask that you approve it. Approval of our bus route, something that comes through every year. We want to thank Joyce Kirkpatrick and all of our bus drivers for all they do, keeping that ready to go. Our school resource officer, DARE officer agreement. This is the agreement we have every year with the sheriff department. It's what gives us Deputy Oosley. And this year we're also going to have Matt Hewlett joining us. He'll be replacing Dominic Antonorum, who obviously stepped out of law enforcement there. And I would ask that we'd approve that agreement with the Stark County Sheriff's Officer. The next thing, guys, is our salary schedule. As we're asking you to employ the security officers, we're asking that we set a salary schedule. Jason's attached that for us there. And just so everybody's aware, we are going to give credit on that salary schedule for school experience. For example, John Von Spiegel has been a school resource officer for, I believe, 7 years, 2 years here with us, 5 years at Jackson. We're going to give him credit on that salary for school experience. Everybody else, that's in, like John Klaus, we're setting him where his school experience is. So just so you guys know. The next one, and this is one I want to make sure we're very clear on with everybody. This is our resolution authorizing staff members to carry firearms. And if you look there at the resolution that we sent to you, this was established by House Bill 99. And the reason we are asking you to pass this is because those security officers, even though they are commissioned police officers, are being hired by Canton local schools. So in essence, those staff members are carrying guns. It will not be, and I want to be very clear and make sure I'm very clear to anybody out in the community, this is not teachers. This is not administrators. This is not custodians, paraprofessionals. These are simply to authorize our police officers that we are going to employ in the world of security guards. So all of that would run through me. I just want to be very clear what you're authorizing. There will be nobody else carrying guns other than those people that we have authorized as our security guards here with everything. But I would ask that we approve that. Pay in lieu of district transportation, something that happens every year. Whenever we have a student that is at another placement, one of the options is that they can transport their child themselves, and we will give them a payment in lieu of that. And we would just ask that we approve that for this family that is here. And you can see that it's $50 per day. And that is in accordance with state law of how that would work. And I would ask that we'd approve that. Our next two I'm going to talk about together, items J and K. That's the use of our school facilities. Just an approval. Matt Trissel is asked to use the school facilities for the youth football organization. The request has been submitted from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. on Saturday the 24th for youth football. Obviously, I would like our facilities being used by our kids, and I'd like to request that they have the right to do that. And then Joe Rutherford wants Sunday to be able to hold open mats, obviously outside of those times where we would interfere with students going to church. but that they would be able to come in the afternoon during the fall season leading up to wrestling. And I'd like to recommend that we do that. Item L is the unpaid leave of absence. This is for Heather Bazinski. We would just like to, that when the balance of her sick leave is up, that we would approve her to be on an unpaid leave of absence while she worked through some issues there with that. And I do recommend that we do that. And my final that I have on here is the approval of the strategic plan that you guys all have a copy of there. I'd ask that we could get that approved, and then we are gonna work to get that out to the community, and so our community knows what's going on with that as well. But I obviously ask that we approve that.
All right, I so move on items A through M.
I'll second. Any questions?
One, you had said something, I'm not sure if you sent it out in an email about our new security officers having to be commissioned through Stark County. What is that? Why is that?
So it's something that actually as we met through with the Stark County Sheriff Deputy, it just makes it cleaner that no matter what, they still hold a commission as a police officer, and they're gonna make sure that they follow up with those required trainings that police officers have to do. So, like right now, John Kloss, who's been with us, he's always been through the Downton Police Force. He's gonna work to keep that, but Sheriff Meyer, who I've worked with, has been gracious enough that he's willing to commission all of them as well. And it's really just, it makes it cleaner that they stay commissioned police officers. Because, for example, our other three, Joe Pileggi and John Von Spiegel, just retired from Jackson and Kansas City, respectively. And Greg Whitney is retired from Cleveland. So this just keeps them as a commissioned officer, and it keeps it cleaner within the resolution.
Thank you.
Yep, no, thanks.
Okay, the preschool, will they start this week then?
They're supposed to start on Wednesday. They are
Okay.
supposed to start on Wednesday. Our worst case scenario is they don't come up and do that inspection. And this is one of the things that is kind of frustrating because it's not our program. We house it. We have our kids. I was on the phone talking with people today. Victoria has more emails out to them today. Like I said, all paperwork and everything was submitted for this on July 24th, which was the earliest we could get things submitted to them. The county program assured us that they've never had an issue with that timeline before. Even going into today, we thought they were showing up today. They did not show up today.
So is their schedule still gonna be offset for our buses and parent pickup and all
Yes,
that?
absolutely,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. In fact, just so you guys know as well, we shifted John Kloss's hours a little bit over there to make sure he will absolutely be there for those preschool pickup as well, for
Okay.
everything.
Any other questions? If not, call the roll, please.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Kopeski?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
All right, any informational items? Board concerns? Any questions pertaining to the agenda items or board action?
I had one.
Jason has, yes.
Under informational items, should be
Yes.
under informational items, the commercial paper holdings. We don't have to act upon this, but I'm required by the revised code to provide a copy of the commercial paper holdings that we had. So that's at the back of the packet, a listing of every commercial paper investment that we held for the last fiscal year. It shows the income earned, management fee, and custodial fee. I went over that a little bit during my report. We haven't invested in commercial paper a lot, but with the interest rates being as low as they were about the last year and a half, commercial paper gave us an opportunity to make some interest where we couldn't get it otherwise. So we did invest in commercial paper. It's just required to be presented to the board annually. So this fulfills that requirement.
Thank you. All right, are there any questions pertaining to agenda items or board action? If not, any other business?
So Jason, do you want to take this? I can.
Delegate?
Yeah, so-
We need to have a delegate for the Capital Conference to represent Canton Local School District at the annual business meeting.
I could,
I said, are you?
Yes.
yeah, I can be the delegate. I've been the delegate, so.
Do we want to name just in case something would happen, we typically name a delegate and an alternate.
Alternative?
And Anybody want to volunteer to be the alternate?
I'm not even sure what they do.
You
All
attend
you
the
do is-
annual business meeting, you
Okay.
have a voting, we have a voting interest in the Ohio School Board since we're a member district. They conduct their annual meeting, and our district gets a vote. Whoever attends that on their behalf gets a vote.
It's a
Guys,
pretty
what,
spirited for something. I'm not gonna lie, I was lost about halfway through it the last time I was there because I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah,
It takes a few to get your feet wet.
they go through resolutions and
Okay.
then they ask for a vote and then you can vote accordingly.
It's like an up and down vote too.
Yeah, it's usually all those in favor stand, all those, opposed stand.
So you're
They take a head.
planning on going, but we just have
Yes.
to have, I can be the substitute just in case.
yeah, it's pretty simple.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really not.
Hey, and while we're talking about that, guys, I just want to remind you, and some of you have all told me already, if you've already told me that for sure you're going, I just want to make sure you know you are all invited to go down. It is the Ohio School Board Association's conference. And there's a lot of really good information and a lot of really good sessions that are down there. So if you can make it, it is, the dates are November 13th, 14th, and 15th. Yep.
Yeah, 13th is a Sunday.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
So we would go down there, but I would just need to know for sure whether you can make it, even if you can only make it for a day, by the September board meeting. So just as you look to plan your schedule, so that way Jason and I can prepare. But Jason and I will be going down, and a lot of times, I say a lot of times, this is my second year, we've taken the central office administrative team because there's been a lot of good conversations and a lot of good professional learning. So
It was a phenomenal experience last year.
just want to make sure, and again, if you've already told me you're going, great, and if not, I just want to make sure I can send the invitation personally.
All right. Anything else, other business? All right, any executive session?
I have no need.
Okay. All right, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion made and second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Kovesky?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for coming.